I think it's worthwhile for us to just stay in the active. So let's go Intrepid Sword. You can see that this is really like how powerful the deck is. You are now watching Lesage, the best place to learn about competitive Pokemon TCG. Let's get it! Yo, what's poppin' peeps? Welcome back to the channel. Lesage here. Today we're going to be going over Turbo Zacian. Now, Turbo Zacian has been popping up a little bit here and there, but I find that the deck is like, while it's doing very well, I find it's kind of fighting power is decreasing a little bit, with Mew and JOLTEON being top decks in the format. So we're going to be exploring how this deck reacts to those decks and what you could really do to play around it, what those decks do against Zacian in this video. Included is going to be my deck list, my thoughts on the decks, and some gameplay. So let's check it out. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. That being said, let's jump into this deck list, see exactly what we have going on. So Turbo Zacian's been out for a while. Sword and Shield, the deck has seen a lot of success, but the deck is really basic in its whole entirety. So we have access to ability Intrepid Sword. So once during your turn, you get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck, attach any number of Metal Energy cards attached that you find there to this Pokemon. So you could rip the top 3 cards. If you found any Metal Energies, you can attach them to Zacian or not. Sometimes you want to actually have the Metal Energies in your hand, because sometimes you already have 3 energies on a Zacian. But the other cards go into your hand as a draw power, so you have your choice to whether attach them, or if you don't have any, you could totally just draw those cards. And then you have a strong attack, Brave Blade, for Metal, doing 230. During your next turn, this Pokemon can attack. That's fine. There's enough switching outs and air balloons and stuff like that to really make this deck pop off. If you're playing against a VMAX deck, you have access to Zamazenta V, which you could also power up with cards like Metal Saucer, wherever it is in the deck, or we actually have a few copies of Raihan here as well. So we could accelerate energies to our basic Pokemon here in this deck and just kind of attack with Assault Tackle. It's good against single prize card decks, VMAX decks that play special energies. And then you have a bigger attacker. You have Guru. Guru allows you to kind of stack your deck with Intrepid Sword. Same thing with Rotom Phone. So this is a build that's been out for a while now. There's other cool things that you have here too. Like sometimes if you're playing against a Cape of Toughness deck, you could Tool Scrapper away a Cape of Toughness so that you could knock them out with Brave Blade. Brave Blade's a good number to knock out Pokemon V. We also have access to Cape of Toughness to increase our HP to numbers where it's difficult for Pokemon to knock us out. And we have Crystal Cave to not only bump Pat to the peak, but we are metal type Pokemon, so we can kind of heal. Word to everyone who's playing this deck: when you're playing against a VMAX deck that doesn't really have a great answer to Zamazenta, you want to be going 2 Zamazentas, 1 Zacian, and 1 Oranguru. That's really what you want to be offering, so your opponent's forced to really draw between 6 and 7 prize cards. When you're playing against a deck that plays VMAX Pokemon, if you have multiple Zacian V down, there's a card called Boss's Orders. You know, lots of decks are playing 4. They will just bring up your Zacians and eat around your Zamazenta V. In most other matchups, you probably want to be going triple Zacian V unless they're not playing Pokemon, like if they're not playing Pokemon VMAX, because this Pokemon can do more damage. Although in the case of single prize cards, Assault Tackle is a more efficient attack. So that's what we got going on with this deck. Let's see what we have going on with some gameplay. So we're gonna go ahead and call this coin flip, and we won the coin flip. Yo, let's go. Let's see exactly what we could, what we were gonna play against here. So we did start with Zacian. We do have access to Intrepid Sword. You just always want to start with Zacian, see exactly what you can do. And we'll wait to see what our opponent's playing. Hopefully the water deck box is not another Mew deck. Hopefully it's just not another Mew deck. So flip over an Ice Rider. That one's weak to metal. That'd be awesome. And Ice Rider's a valid deck too. Playing down Double Sobble doesn't necessarily make sense. I don't know if I want to put down Zamazenta, but maybe we want to go Guru here. That might be the wave. Let's see what Guru brings us. Let's go Rotom Phone first. Nothing that we want to really put on top of our deck. I mean, we could go Rotom Phone again. I'm going to go ahead, Primate Wisdom. Let's put a Metal Saucer. We probably want to shuffle that in there. We could Rotom Phone, re-roll that again, hopefully trying to get a Metal Energy. And as you can see, we have the Metal Energy that we could put on top of our deck. We have no way to access it, but we do have access to Intrepid Sword, which does make things pretty cool. So you can see we have the energy, we have the boss. We are missing the other energy because we did miss an energy for our turn. but we were able to kind of play through that strategically. So as much as Turbo Zacian is a basic deck, and I think that's really clearly where its strength is. It's cheap to build, it's easy to play, you're just attaching energies and stuff like that. There are slight nuances that make this deck a really cool inclusion in the format and ways to kind of play it out properly. So we'll see what our opponent's playing. I'm assuming I'm assuming we're gonna find out really soon. With it being a Zigzagoon, it looks like it's Jolteon. I think Jolteon's really one of those, like, it's a back and forth matchup. We have Crystal Caves to get around a lot of their stuff, and they might not have too much going on here. Boss's Orders is kind of cool, but we could just really go like Zamazenta V is cool in this matchup. We can also probably go with another Zacian. I really don't know what I want to be doing here. Like, I don't want to be losing our resources right away, but I also don't want to I think I'm gonna put the boss on top of the deck and start things off like this. I probably want to have a Metal Energy in the discard pile as well, so I'm gonna switch into a Guru. I think that seems like a solid choice, and I'm gonna pitch this hand away. Pitching the Metal Energy beforehand does open up results for Metal Saucer, so you can see that, like, we're fully powered up, but the thing is, you usually want to keep yourself fully powered up -1 and then have the energy in your hand so you can make an appropriate decision. So let's go ahead, go Metal Saucer onto the Zamazenta V, which might be a little bit better, and you can still maybe get an energy off Intrepid Sword, so that's why it's better to not attach to that Pokemon. So we don't really have, like, a great way out of the active spot, but we can build up a solid bench. We really want to focus on our Crystal Caves, getting around Path to the Peaks. Like, this matchup can really get out of hand really quick, because they do have Path to the Peaks. They can hit our Pokemon for 200. They can heal things off. So I think that their rate of drawing prize cards are kind of difficult to deal with. So even though we're playing correctly, the format might not necessarily be favoring Turbo Zacian in general. And that's one thing that we're trying to discover when it comes to playing these games and understanding how things go. I think Turbo Zacian's a really cool deck. It's one of those things where it might not be well positioned right now. And it's happened to decks like Suicune Ludicolo, and it's happened to decks like Leafeon VMAX, where they're very strong, well-constructed decks, and they're just not in a great spot, unfortunately. The one thing that's difficult about having Guru in the active spot is if they do hit us, and they do hit our bench, it is one of those things where we don't really have a way out of the active spots. So we'll see how it plays out this game. We'll try our best to go through whatever our opponent has. If they had a Speed Lightning, we might try to go for more of a Dauntless Shield strategy. Our hand is, like, again, really awkward. We don't have a great way to get through all of these cards. Like, we might actually have to pitch this hand away. And our opponent is going to have the Headbutt Tantrum to go for the double attack to try to go through these Pokemon. So there's the Max Thunder Rumble. That's totally fine. I'm fine with them hitting the Guru. We did kind of draw lucky there, so I'm okay about it. So you want to what? I am going to just go Air Balloon here. Retreat. You want to what? Before we retreat, we can put a card on top of our deck. Let's go Primate Wisdom. Let's put this on top of our deck. I don't know how many Raihans we're actually going to need in this game, so I'm actually going to shuffle that one back to the deck and get a Zamazenta in my hands. I don't want to play it down yet, but I do want to power this up. Let's go ahead, retreat this. And you can see our hand's like a little less boring than it was before. Like, we have a little bit more to work with. How many Metal Energies do we have in our discard pile? None. That's fine. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead here and go Brave Blade. Hope our opponent does not have access to Cheryl. And I mean, so far so good. We're doing okay. And we're really just hoping that maybe they don't have the Jolteon V. Maybe they don't have a Cheryl. Maybe they don't have a lot of things. Our boss's orders could be really good here too. Oh, they're going to go Cross Switcher. Okay. So Cross Switcher is going to hit 100 here and probably 100 to my bench. The fact that we have the boss's orders... Do we have boss's orders on top of the deck, or did I put Raihan? No, I shuffled the boss's orders in the deck is what I did. Okay. At least we have an energy. We have access to Marnie. So a lot of the times it's going to be out of your control. Card draws like Intrepid Sword are just kind of random at the top of your hand. You don't have a lot of direct search when it comes to this deck, so we're still kind of chilling. We just don't have access to Intrepid Sword or Dauntless Shield because of Path to the Peak right now. So Crystal Cave is really a must. Freebie prize card for our opponents. That's completely fine. Might have been better for them to hold off on that. Or maybe it's better, I'm not sure. It doesn't really matter too much. Their setup is quite good though this turn. And we'll see. Hopefully they grab an elemental badge. If they pre-attach their elemental badge, we have access to Tool Scrapper. Like, we have some of our outs available to us in this particular build. Like, we have outs right now. We could grab a Cape of Toughness, giving ourselves more HP. Our opponent's playing a lot of resources, so they're also leaving themselves quite vulnerable to our Marnie. You usually want to keep an empty Sobble spot just in case your opponent plays Marnie, if not two of them. Okay, there's a Scoop Up Net. They probably should Scoop Up Net this Shady Dealings. So by them playing Drizzle to grab a card that's going to go at the bottom of their deck, it really doesn't matter. I would play Tool Scrapper here, but we are not able to. We are going to get the knockout anyways, is what I'm trying to say. So let's go ahead, attach there. So we will be getting the knockout. Let's go, Marnie. See how this all plays out. Not a lot going on here. Let's, I know we don't want this Zacian here anymore, so that's definitely something that we gotta look out for. Let's get Zamazenta here. I think that sounds like a really good play. And let's go for Assault Tackle. So Assault Tackle, we're gonna be up 3 prize cards. I could have maybe waited on that, but I think there's a world where our opponent actually could have won the game. And if they do win the game, like, we're just not, like, if they would have been able to knock out 2 Pokemon here this turn, I just don't think we're going to be winning this one. So that was really the correct play. There's really not too much else that you can do. A lot of Zacian Zamazenta is either going ahead and seeing if you can just get a quick attack first, or kind of reacting to what your opponent does. So a lot of it's really taking a backseat roles, kind of sitting here, waiting for your opponent to see what they have. Now, maybe our opponent doesn't have access to... maybe they don't have access to a Jolteon VMAX. Okay, it looks like they do have access to a Jolteon VMAX. So they're probably just going to hit our active and our bench Zamazenta V. I think that sounds like a pretty good plan for our opponents. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, really not too bad for us. The Crystal Cave top deck is really nice there. So we can heal 90 damage. Let's go Rotom Phone, look at our top of our deck. When it comes to things like Boss's Orders, we might want Boss's Orders on top of our deck. So I think that sounds like a really good plan. Do we want to attack with the Zamazenta V up front? Maybe that's just the play. I think we actually want to attack with Zacian here. So I'm going to go switch here into the Zacian so we can get an attack off. I'm going to power up the new Zamazenta V. And we're going to research our hand away, because I don't think there's anything else worthwhile. I think we're in a pretty good spot here. Would be nice if we could find a Cape of Toughness somewhere in our deck to maybe get a little bit more HP. But we are going to get off a quick Brave Blade here. And if our opponent doesn't have Cheryl, we have game kind of for next turn, or we're close to having game for next turn. Because right now they need to find a Path to the Peak to be able to damage our Zamazenta V. And they did find Cheryl, but will they find the Elemental Badge? Like, there's a few ways. Okay, so our opponent's drawing quite fortunate here. But, again, there's only so much that we can do when it comes to this particular matchup. And dealing with double Zamazenta is not necessarily that bad if they do not have access to Path to the Peak themselves. So, we still have that as an option. Because our opponent likely has nothing in their hand at this point. And you can see they have nothing in their hand. They're going to draw 2 prize cards off of their Zacian. And that's really where we're going to be in a good spot. The quick shooting damage likely won't matter ever. Since they both have damage, it's probably better for us to... we have the one with the energy. I think this is probably just the better Pokemon to put there, because Raihan you can attach to any of your Pokemon. It doesn't have to be an active or anything else like that. It's not like Metal Saucer or anything else like that. So let's go ahead here. You can see we could also just go Metal Saucer, whatever. Let's go Raihan, attach there. And let's go ahead. I mean, Tool Scrapper might be the play here. I think Tool Scrapper could slow them down a little bit, especially if they don't have much going on. We are going to go for Crystal Cave here. And let's go ahead and attach an energy. We could go Metal Saucer here. I mean, Metal Saucer might be better, and it might be better for us to also just attach an extra energy in case we have to ever retreat our active. So let's go Assault Tackle here. We have to 3-shot this Pokemon. Most lists only play a couple copies, or one copy of Cheryl. No, lists aren't really playing 2 or 3 copies of Cheryl anymore. So if our opponent does not have Path to the Peak, they likely will not be able to attack us. And we can also discard their Speed Lightning Energy as well, so that's a possibility too. If they do get a Path to the Peak out, we could go research and try to find another Crystal Cave. They're already down a couple Path to the Peak, or they will be down a couple Path to the Peak in general, so we'll see how that plays out. It doesn't look like they have anything going on in their hand. Oh, okay, never mind. They just have research. Our opponent pretty much has everything they're looking for. So there's a Path to the Peak. Really not what we're looking for. I think we're in a pretty rough situation here. But we can get out another Crystal Cave, and maybe they don't have access to another one. I think that's really what we're trying to hope for here, is that we can try to finesse our way through this game. We might also be able to win this game by boss's orders alone. So looking at what our opponent plays, most Jolteon lists play 7 energies, 4 Speed Lightning and 3 basics. So they have 3, 4, 5. So they still have 2 lightning energies left. They have all their Pokemon have 1 retreat or free retreat, so that's not going to really work out. So really our only chance here is to kind of get set up with something else. We aren't going to be using another Guru throughout the game. We are looking for Crystal Cave and maybe a Cape of Toughness. So let's go ahead and pitch this hand away. See how it plays out. So just because, yeah, we're not in a great spot here. We can go Cape of Toughness, which brings us to 280. But the 280 doesn't really matter since we didn't get the Crystal Cave. We could go ahead and try to put the Crystal Cave on top. You can see we have quite a few of them in the deck. There's really no, I guess we could attach an energy just in case. And we'll try to discard their energy in case they don't really have anything else. So it's one of those things where we probably lost this game because our opponent likely has an energy. We didn't get around their Path to the Peak, but they do have the extra energy. So we are going to lose this one, but it was a pretty close game overall. This matchup could really go either way. It's really one of those tight matchups where it's like maybe they would have had something, maybe they wouldn't have. Our opponent looks like I don't know what they're necessarily trying to do here, but it is what it is. Well played to our opponent. Super tight game overall. Okay, so we lost the coin flip, and that's completely fine. Depending on what we start with or what we're playing against, right? This is a type of deck that we'd want to be going first with in general. But we have ways to get around it, right? Like we have the Intrepid Sword. I mean, our hand's like not particularly great, but it's interesting enough. So let's start off with the Zacian V. I think it's our main attacker, has a lot of HP. Let's see what our opponent's flipping up. They're playing Mew. This is actually a matchup that I do not feel the most comfortable in. I know some players say it's a little bit close. I think a lot of it depends if they're playing the Meloetta version or not. This is definitely a matchup that we probably want to get Zamazenta V out in. And right now our hand does not look like we have too many options to do that. We could dig with Guru, but if we do rip an energy into our hands, it could potentially take away from Intrepid Sword. I mean, I guess it works out to be the same thing, so it's probably a worthwhile inclusion to use Primate Wisdom, but we'll just really wait for our opponent to play their things out. We got to watch out for things such as Meloetta and all that great stuff. Melodious Echo could really knock out a Zamazenta V in a single hit, and you can see they fully understand what they're doing here. They have their free retreat, they have their Genesect, and what a start for our opponent as well. So while I do think Turbo Zacian can hold its own against some of the metagame, I don't necessarily feel like Mew's a great deck to play against, which is not necessarily the greatest thing when you're playing a deck such as Turbo Zacian. Like, Victini is relatively low on the tier list, so it's one of those things where you don't need to have to worry about it too much, but it is one of those things where, I don't know, it just gets a little scary. Us getting a Marnie down seems great. I think I'm just going to go ahead, go Crystal Cave, because they don't play many stadiums in their deck, and they might even play Crystal Cave themselves. I'm going to go Oranguru. I'm going to go Air Balloon. I don't know if I want to put the Air Balloon on the active. I'm still just trying to think that out before I commit. I know I do not want to put another Zacian down. I might want to put the Air Balloon on the active, just so I have mobility. Yeah, I think that might be the better play. So we're going to go ahead and do that. There's nothing I want to put on top of my deck. So let's go Marnie here. We're hoping for Zamazenta and an energy of some capacity. So we didn't get that, but we do have access to Guru, Primate Wisdom, and Rotom Phone. So if we do get one of those cards on top of our deck, we could totally swap it up. Now, it is tough because I'd like to have a research for next turn, but we are also going to be going for Intrepid Sword at some point. So let's go ahead and Primate Wisdom. It doesn't matter what we're putting on top of our deck. I think Metal Saucer might just be better in case they knock something out. There's our Zamazenta. We're now going to go ahead and attach that. Now, do I want to retreat into the Guru? I think I totally can, just to maybe give ourselves a little bit more time, because this is worth one prize card. You only ever want to play one Guru down in these matchups. Let's go ahead and go for Intrepid Sword. And we didn't really get much. I know that we were going to draw into the Metal Saucer. That's definitely something that I knew we were going to draw into, but it's not necessarily what we were looking for in entirety. So let's see exactly how this goes with our opponent's upcoming turn. We want to make sure that we have Zamazenta as a way to just wall their Pokemon, discard their Fusion Strike energies, because otherwise doing 230 to a Pokemon that knocks us back out, they draw a rate of 2 prize cards per turn. We draw a rate of 1.5 prize cards. So if we're two-shotting a VMAX, that's a rate of 1.5 prize cards per turn, since VMAX Pokemon are worth 3 prize cards. If we are so that's not really good. We are going to lose that war every single time because they're going to one-shot us. And they're drawing 2 prize cards per turn, which is a rate of 2 prize cards per turn since we're worth 2 prize cards. You can see how simple math tells you that if you're drawing prize cards at a faster rate than your opponent and you start earlier than your opponent, you will win the game. So that's one thing that really scares me about these kind of numbers. That's why we need Zamazenta V to slow down their rate of prize cards. It slows down ours, but theirs gets slowed down a little bit more. I would really like to knock out this Meloetta with Zamazenta V if I'm given the opportunity. So we're going to set up the Zacian V here, see exactly what we can get off the top. I mean, Raihan would have been great if we had a Metal Energy in our hands, but we do not, and that's okay. We have to realize that things are not always going to work out as we want them to. So let's go ahead here, go Cape of Toughness. When in doubt, you could always defensively boss your opponents. Bring up this Genesect. Maybe they don't have a switch in their hands. Maybe they do, but there's not so much that we can do. Again, I'm still going to reserve this spot to not put a Zacian V down. I know it's a little bit difficult. I'd like to really, I'm really debating putting it down because we do have the Air Balloon in our hands. I do not think it's currently worthwhile. So we're going to go ahead and Intrepid Sword. We actually want to keep this energy for our hands, or maybe a Metal Saucer or anything. So we're going to, again, just not attach it, showing you that the deck could be a little bit different. So we'll do everything that we can to fight against Mew, but you could see that their board state looks so much better than ours. But I'm not necessarily going to be giving this game up. They do have Max Miracle that goes through, but again, we could discard their Fusion Strike energy, stuff like that. This is where it gets really scary. If they had the 4th Fusion Strike energy, they could go Fusion Strike energy, which would be 4 in play, which would be Melodious Echo doing 280 damage. Well, that's how much HP the Zamazenta V has, so that's really why this matchup has become much worse. As the Meloetta version has come out for this deck, it just is not great for us. And our opponent right now has a power tablet to get the Melodious Echo and all that stuff off, so they are going to be knocking out our active. Now, if we do get a quick ball or something that allows us to pitch this energy away, we could Raihan and attack our opponent. That might be kind of cool, but we'll really have to play it out and play it by ear. Let's see what we got going on here. So really not a lot going on. We're going to go ahead and attach here. I don't see any reason not to play Marnie. I don't want to pitch away all these resources that we might need later on in the game. And the Metal Saucers you can only attach to a bench Pokemon. So right now we don't necessarily have that. And here we're just kind of stuck. We're really waiting for our opponent to either have it or not. So you can see like this is how the matchup actually plays out. Mew versus Meloetta nowadays. So while I do think Turbo Zacian is somewhat of an acceptable deck, and when I say somewhat, I think it's the best budget deck. I think it's a budget version of Mew, to be honest, where the kind of disruption based of Dauntless Shield is the same way that Mew is just very quick, or Brave Blade turn 2 is the same thing as Cross Fuse and Strike for a Technoblast turn 2. The fact that they play the 3 special energies also makes it more difficult because we can't assault tackle them out of the game. It does make it a little bit difficult for us. And it looks like our opponent's probably just going to use Max Miracle 3 times to knock us out. We do have Crystal Cave, so we do have ways to maybe heal things up a little bit. That is a possibility. But again, we don't want to put anything else down here because that's not going to be helpful. We'll use Crystal Cave at the beginning of our turn because there's really no downside. Although it is likely better to use it at your end of your turn when you've kind of received more information. Our opponent can now just attack us with Meloetta to do 210 damage. So unfortunately, we are now stuck to use put the Zacian down because we are likely getting knocked out next turn. If our opponent understands that Meloetta does hit us for 210, I think that's really like where this game just gets like really bad. I actually played Josh Sutherland's, who typically plays Zacian, and I was playing Mew, and this was at the late night number 8s. We played in the top 16, and it's kind of exactly how this matchup went, where Turbo Zacian struggles when they take an early knockouts, and this is really where the matchup can get bad. It's just Meloetta makes some matchups so much more difficult than they ever have been before, and it's really like kind of this new dominance of Mew. So now that our opponent's just doing 210, we got to find ways to survive again. They have played a couple switch. So in a world where they play only 2 switch and 1 escape rope, if the escape rope's their last prize, we might be able to deck out our opponents. Let's go ahead and bring up a Genesect again, another defensive boss. So when your back's against the wall, sometimes defensive boss can hurt an opponent who has not properly used their resources. I'm not saying that about my opponent. They probably have access to a way to get out of the active spot, but we might have a chance here. So I think that's really our only goal. There's really no point of us even trying to draw extra cards, unless of course they can't. You want to know what we do play Marnie, we do play other things, so we do need to draw an extra cards. Let's just not draw extra cards to the point where we deck out at a faster rate than our opponent. So we'll keep our opponent's deck size in mind compared to ours. I think that's really something that could be interesting. And maybe, like, again, maybe they only play 2 switch. Maybe, like, I'm assuming we've seen all of their energies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They might have 1 more Fusion Strike energy. It's either in their prize cards or maybe they drew it from their prize cards. If it's in their prize cards, I know that they have access to Escape Rope. But you can see that like our current plan has worked. Again, there's no reason for us to do anything else except maybe try to get a Cape of Toughness to survive an attack. Because they have played quite a few power tablets as well. 2 power tablets in fact. So they might not be able to do too much against us. We could then, we can again go for Intrepid Sword. There's no reason for us not to attach an energy just in case. And we'll see what our opponent can do here. So Turbo Zacian does have these mid-range control elements as well, where you can use a defensive boss against your opponents. The same way that you have the very offensive Brave Blade turn, like if you go first, turn 1, attach an energy, Intrepid Sword, Rip and Energy. Next turn you could go Boss's Orders 230 on one of your opponent's Pokemon V. That's really how Turbo Zacian can just kind of cheese out wins. So we're just really hoping that our opponent does not have enough resources to complete this game, and maybe like their Rotom Phone's gonna get it for them. Maybe they're chilling on the dub, but they might have played too many Switch in this game, and they might not have it in their list right now. It looks like they're rolling for it though. We're waiting on it. Let's see exactly what our opponent. Yeah, they have the other Switch. It looks like they have it. And that's how that game's gonna roll out. I mean, it's close, but it's one of those things where it could have been worse. So we're gonna start off this game by winning the coin flip. Yo, let's go. We do want to go first with this deck. So again, fingers crossed on that turn one Intrepid Sword, Energy, and we even have the Guru to stack an Energy on top of our deck. So we'll see how that plays out. Hopefully our opponent's not playing Victini, but knowing my luck, I'm assuming I'll probably run into something like that. We'll see what they flip over. Okay, some kind of Mew Genesect. Again, this is really where we're going to see a lot of it. Let's go ahead, put Guru here. Let's go ahead, start off by using Guru because we gain more information off the top of our deck. And let's go Metal Energy here. Now, do we want to go switch into the Guru? That's a question that I have to ask myself. We know that we're getting another Energy, and our opponent, they'd have to get like 3 Fusion Strike Energies and a Power Plant. Or not a Power Plant, a Power Tablets. I think it's worthwhile for us to just stay in the active. So let's go Intrepid Sword. You can see that this is really like how powerful the deck is. Like going Intrepid Sword into a Boss's Orders. So it's our first turn of the game. We have 3 energies on our Zacian V. We're kind of the same thing as Mew in a way that just goes Elisa Sparkle for 2 energies and attaches 1. Now, I do think this is where Mew does have a higher, it's better in the current metagame. It's just more powerful and can easily attach those energies within its own free will, but it's one of those things where we'll see how it plays out. Maybe we're playing against a Genesect deck? I don't think we are, but we'll see. Okay, so we are playing against the Mew. Okay, I just want to make sure. Trying to make sure here, peeps. Okay, there's the Meloetta. Again, fingers crossed that they don't start with a Fusion Strike Energy and go right into an Elisa. Power Tablet. So they just need an Elisa's and a way out of the active to knock us out. And this is really like one of those things where, again, I think this is what makes it a very difficult matchup. There's a 3rd Power Tablets. So now they still need an Elisa's. And they have 2 Fusion Strike Energies in their deck. Now, our opponent could draw into those Fusion Strike Energies, which would make it difficult or impossible for them to use Elisa's. So there's Elisa. You could see that, like, by going first, we are at a disadvantage in this particular matchup. We're still waiting on our opponent to get a switch. They might not have it. Come on. No! No! Yeah, there's really nothing that there's nothing that I could do except concede this game at that point. It's just really bad. So we're gonna go ahead and concede this one. This is really why Turbo Zacian is not great against Mew. That's what we got going on for Turbo Zacian today. I think the deck right now, it's positioned okay, but I don't necessarily think it competes with the best decks in the format. I know not everyone likes when I make a definitive kind of ruling on a deck or anything else like that, but I do try my best to be as honest and fair as possible. I just don't think the Mew and JOLTEON matchups are too great, and I think it might struggle against some other decks too that we didn't necessarily feature in this video. So let me know what you think about Turbo Zacian in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. That being said, I appreciate all the love and support on the channel lately. We're on our road to 9,000 subs. It'd be awesome if we could get there. I'll catch up with all y'all real soon. Peace out and have a great day. I truly appreciate you taking the time out of your day to watch this video. It means the world to me. And my goal with this channel is to spread my love of the game and knowledge with our entire Pokemon TCG community. If you haven't already, help signal boost this video to other Pokemon TCG fans by liking it, sharing it with your friends, and subscribing to the channel. Hopefully we reach our goals really soon. Check out this recommended video and have yourself a great day. Thanks.